Welcome to the part of the research paper where sometimes you guys go, what the heck is this? In the two videos, I'll have to split it up. In two videos, I will be talking about the MLA Citation Style Guide, which is basically how to format your research paper and how to give credit where credit is due. Now, there are a lot of resources online for this. You could click on this if you wanted to, but I mean, don't make your lives too complicated. If you need me to go over this with you individually, by all means, just let me know, and it would be my pleasure to just go over it with you and make sure you kind of get it. All right, so let's see what's going to happen. Now, what is the MLA format? MLA stands for Modern Language Association. The MLA format is what we use when we are studying literature. There's also one called the APA, and I believe that one is used for social sciences. So depending on what branch you will be studying, whether sciences or social sciences or whatever, your professors will tell you which format they want you to use. And then what all you need to do is look up that format and follow it. So because we have an English class, we'll use the MLE. This style is most commonly used to write papers and cite sources within the liberal arts and humanities courses in post-secondary institutions. Citing sources is crucial for your paper because if you don't cite properly, you can lead to plagiarism. Plagiarism, it's hard to say, especially when I just had popcorn. So you don't want plagiarism, especially in post-secondary education. All right. So that means giving credit to people that you've read. So don't steal ideas. It's important for you to know that this exists. Um, and also, it's important for you to know that if you're pursuing your education in September, you will need to learn how to get this done. Whether it's MLA or APA, doesn't matter. So there are only two aspects of the MLA we will see. It's so much more than what you and I will be doing, but I mean, I have to kind of limit it a bit. So we're gonna look at the basic. How do you quote in a paper? Since you'll be doing research, you'll be learning some things, you'll be taking other people's words, and you'll be quoting them in your work. If you do that, you have to mention in your writing that it's not you that thought of that, it's not you that invented that. So that's citing. We call it citing, and it's either direct or indirect. Direct is when you quote someone directly, not changing the words. And indirect is when you say, Manon said, blah, 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 blah. So you actually mention the name in your sentence, but you still have a little bit of work to do for your reader. There is also the other part, the second part, which is the works cited list. This one's going to be in a separate video. This is where you create a list at the end of your paper, and it's a list of all the people's work you consulted and used. Okay, not just consulted, but you actually used. And there's a certain way it needs to be presented. But like I said, that's the part that I will do in another video. So coming back to citing, to quoting. Citing different sources in your paper within the body of your work, which means when you're writing in your paragraphs, it can be complicated. We're going to see some basic rules for you to use. When we'll be talking about the works cited list in the other video, it's really how that page needs to look at the end of your paper. There's a recipe, all you need to do is follow it. So, coming back to quoting, okay, giving credit where the credit is due. It is so important. There are many citing types, more than this. Books, when you have a known author. Books, when you have no known authors. Books, where you have multiple authors, and then the internet. I'm not going to fool myself. Most of you are going to use the internet, okay? So I won't spend time showing you how to do these. I'm going to spend time showing you how to quote from the internet. But know that everything is available online anyways, and chances are you won't be consulting books even come September. You'll be consulting the internet. Now, a direct quote. So when I am using word for word something I read, direct quotes are word for word quotes that are pulled from a source and added to your own project. For example, if I was doing a piece of work on poetry, an essay, I was writing an essay on poetry, I could have in my essay, romantic poetry is characterized by the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. Now, I did not come up with spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. Wordsworth came up with that. So, if I don't say that Wordsworth came up with that, I'm committing plagiarism and I can get kicked out of my class. I don't want that. So, I'm going to quote directly my author, and then I'm going to write what page I found his quote. I'll come to this later. All you need to know right now is a direct quote is when you're using the person's words exactly like you read it. All right? So it's word for word. That's a direct quote. In your paper, you're going to need to follow your direct quote with the author's last name and the page number where you took the quote. In the example we have above, romantic poetry is characterized by the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. Do you notice this part here? After I've quoted directly, I have a parentheses, I have my author's last name, and I have a page number. What this does for your reader, your professor, is it tells him or her, if you go at the end of my essay and you look at the author Wordsworth and you look at the title of the book, that's where I found this quote. Okay, here we go. When you're paraphrasing, you're not using the quotes. So you're taking something that you read and you're putting it in your own words in your paper. You can do this. Here's an example. Here's what would appear in my essay. Wordsworth extensively explored the role of emotion in the creative process. So here I don't have a direct quote. I took what I read from Wordsworth, and so I'm naming him in my text. And then all I need to do is give the page number where I took that idea. Because even if I'm being inspired by someone, I still need to give the credit because I did not come up with this. So you're writing in your own words, but you still need to say where it came from. This is going to be something you will be using a lot in your research paper. You don't have to use direct quotes. You're going to probably research something technical, maybe, or scientific, and you're going to have statistics, and you'll have to tell me where you got that info. And that would be with a paraphrase. So here in our example, the sentence is part of your text, right? You have Wordsworth extensively explored the role of emotion in the creative process, and then my page number. So that's when we paraphrase. So there are two ways to cite. You can cite directly with the quotes, or you can paraphrase in your other things to keep in mind. If your in-text citation comes from a website or another source that doesn't have a page number, here's what you can do. instead of having your page number in your parentheses, remember 263, it looked like this, right? What you can do is you can have your parentheses and go paragraph 1, for example, okay? Or you could have section 1, or you can have chapter 1. If you're confused by this, just ask me to explain it to you again. When do you not need a citation? Common sense and ethics should determine your need for documenting your sources, but not everybody has common sense, and you're kind of new to this. So you don't need to give sources for familiar proverbs, well-known quotations, or common knowledge. If you're saying that the sun sets in the west, well, everybody knows that. Even if you read it in your article, you don't need to cite that. Okay, so it's really based on who your audience is. Meaning, if it's your professor and he's teaching you philosophy and he knows Plato, you know, you probably don't need to explain to him what philosophy is. That's just a simplified example. But anyways, there are times where you don't need to cite. I don't want you to get discouraged. I don't expect you to know this by heart. I am telling you, you can consult websites if you want to, but I wouldn't even bother at this point. I mean, once you have your paper written and you're at this stage, if you want to check in with me, please, please, please don't be shy and I'll give you a hand. So that was for direct quotes or paraphrasing. So I invite you to watch the next video, which will show you once you've written your paper, how do you write all the sources that you used?